I have a project working on and I've already done its frame, installed dependencies, set up npm commands and wrote the entry point making an express HTTP server. I need the first endpoint, namely the getAllUsers for requesting all users from the application. I want to do it with the test-driven approach, but it's a problem. How the hell could I test an express endpoint, controller or request or whatever you call it with marking the request and response parts from the express framework? It's needed because this time I don't want to test the whole express flow with routing or other parts. I just need to test the application logic inside an endpoint. Let's see how you can solve this problem. Make the two files getAllUsersRequest.spec.ts and getAllUserRequest.ts. Start with the test. Wrap tests by a describe getAllUsersRequest and add the first test case, returns with all users. Call the endpoint getAllUsers first. Create the getAllUsers as a function. It has two parameters, an express request and an express response. Export default getAllUsers and go to the parameters and set them as a request and a response. Import those types from Express. Request and response from Express. Back to the test and rename getAllUsers to getAllUsersRequests and import that from the getAllUsersRequest file. Import getAllUsersRequest from getAllUsersRequest. Now add the request and the response mock objects. These are empty objects. I need the expected user list, which is going to be in the result of the requests. I have two users, Dora, who is 30, and Peter with the age of 33. Add the request and the response to the getAllUserRequest call, then write some expectations. Expect response to equal expected users. We have the first problem. TypeScript says the type of my request object is not compatible with the request type of Express library. What is your first idea to solve this problem? Yes, a type assertion, which is a TypeScript feature. Apply a type assertion for request as request and response as response. Import the types from Express. Request and response from Express. Okay, it looks better. No error messages from the TypeScript compiler. Try to run the tests to see what we have. Following the TDD rules, we need a failed or red test result. That's it, as the result tells us we expected an array with full of users, but we received an empty object. Go to the getAllUsers function and add a return value with users to fulfill the test expectations. Const users, and we need the same list with Dora and Peter. After that, add a JSON response with the users list. This is the business logic. Run the tests again. It's failed. The TypeScript compiler tells us that the response object doesn't have JSON function. Why? It's because we used mock response and request, and the response doesn't have this function. Simply add JSON as a mocked function in the following format. JSON jest.fn.mock implementation result response object equals result. Response object doesn't exist yet, so create that as an empty object. Now we have the function we need, but there is another problem. TypeScript compiler says conversion of type may be a mistake. Okay, I don't care, just run the test. Unfortunately, the compiler doesn't allow us to compile this code. Use partial with response as a generic property. Partial is a built-in TypeScript type, and it means the response type will be a subset of the express response type. This error is gone. Back to the test running, see what we changed. It still failed, but not with the type error. I got completely different result than I expected. I need to check the response object, not the whole response in this case. Change response to response object in the expect. Run again. Okay, it's almost done. I just need to wrap my expected users to match the form of the response. In this case, you can't use something like that. Instead, just go ahead with wrapping expected users as a JSON response. Run test again, and this time it's green. No TypeScript errors or no other errors as well. Remember that wherever you need to write unit tests for Express endpoints, either you call them controllers, requests, or anything else, and your project uses TypeScript, just remember the partial type. Thanks for watching, see you soon.